Alright, so we've got our Chapter 9 projects, so let's jump right into them here. So, I decided to do two easy projects this time around. So, let's see, they are the Oasis Spa app, and I want to say the other one's the Modern Art Museum app. I want to make sure that the Modern Art Museum's app. You're about to panic on that one, but finally figured out what was wrong with it, and I'll go over that in a little bit. But, so this is the first one here. They're a little scattered, and there was just a lot of different material and different little places that were edited. So, I'll see if I can cover it all, but I may miss a thing or two in the video. But we'll see if we can get every change I made here. I guess the best thing we could do would be to start with the layouts. There's a couple of simple things, probably the XMLs here. Right? So the manifest is probably the simplest to go over first. So right here on this line, I request the user's permission to use the internet for this application. So that's in there. That way this application is allowed to use the internet. There's also a line here that wasn't in the textbook that I defined online. There's actually some trouble. It may just only be an Android 9 since that's what this tablet runs on, but it starts to get a little weird about like HTTPS addresses, and it won't actually load. You'll get an error, and it'll say like error failed to load, or clear text is not allowed, clear text traffic. So you have to indicate in the manifest that it does allow clear text traffic, whatever that it may be exactly. But that was the I'd definitely have to do a little reading on that, but that is necessary in order to load the address there for the Oasis Spa application. Alright, so then we've got strings.xml, and here's just all the text here for our program. So you've got the name of the application, also got the title here, and so I just decided to make those the same. So that's, and then right here you got the text for the massage image, and then the text for the nails. I just decided to call it nails instead of, so it was manicures and pedicures there, so rolled that into one. And you got a description for that here, and then you have a text description which applies to either image, and it just says spa image. Now you got a title. This is going to show up on the address page, and then you have the actual address and phone number. Alright, so now this is the details.xml thing. Let's load up our preview so we can see it. So this is the what shows up whenever they click on the address button. So you've got a text view element here and another text view element here, and they've got their different properties there. Alright, and right here, I don't like what that just did in my view. Photos.xml. Switch over to our text view. Let's preview it. Here we go. There we go. So this is, actually it's cutting it off there, but it won't cut it off when we display it. Run it. Yeah. So this is a basic preview of it. But we've got an image view control and then a text view control, and those are all in one row on the table layout. And then we have another image view control, text view control, and they're also on their own row. So it works out like that. And you got their different properties here. Alright, let's hide that. Item detail.xml. There was only one change here. I had to change this from a text view to a web view. That way it could render applications. So that pretty much covers all the design, so kind of form design part of it. So we have here, this is the dummy content.java, but it had to be modified a bit. So right here we add three items which are used to navigate the application. So I'm going to have these three dummy items. The first two are simply just normal dummy items like the default code does. It just has an ID and a content there. But for these, for this third one here, since it's for the website, it has to have an ID, item name, and a item URL. which is for the oasisspa.net. And then that little piece there is necessary. That's what was causing the clear text error. So then most of this is just default code. Now the problem was that the textbook wasn't like this, but there was quite a bit of code that relied on a couple things I had to cut out here. I think there was some kind of the details. So I had to either pass empty strings with these, so they would just have to have 3 arguments. But I tried to do that, but then when I got in here and tried to make a second constructor for the web views, it threw an error because this has 3 string arguments as well. So I decided I would just cut all that out. So I took out details and had to modify this code pretty extensively to get it to work without the details argument in this constructor. But it works perfectly now. Got this here. So this is all this is default code except for this piece right here, and this is a specials constructor there for the web view dummy items, or at least the dummy items associated with a URL, a certain website. So they accept an ID, item name, and item URL. The item name is both the content and the object's item name, but then the URL is the item URL, and the ID here is set to the ID. So that is the class used there to create dummy objects or items, dummy items. Alright, so then when you switch over here to the item detail fragment, so most of this is default as well. I had to import the android.webkit.webview. Let's see. So right here, we have in our onCreate method. There's just 3 pieces here I had to add in. The first one is that if the ID here of the dummy item is equal to 1, then it will load the photos layout, which is over here. So it'll display our spa photos and description. So then if it's equal to 2, it's going to load up the details. So that's the address page or the 2 text view elements, or controls, I guess I could say. And then here, this one, if the ID is 3, it's going to display the Oasis Spa website. So we can see there we actually cast this root view, which is just a view object, as a web view. And then we find that root view is find by ID, r.id.item detail. Basically, we cast the root view as a web view, and then we load the URL. We load the URL associated with that dummy item. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So I've got my emulator up now, so let's go ahead and run this thing. Shouldn't take it. Should just jump up there in a second. Got that nice instant run feature now. So here we go. So we've got our spa services application. I wanted to try to take this mail icon out, but that was kind of one of those things that was different between the way Android Studio has kind of updated their default code a little bit. So as I started trying to take that out, it just kept digging a deeper hole as I got into it. So I just figured I would have preferred to take that out, but it's just hanging out down there. It'd be cool to actually add some feature in for that. There it goes. So here we go. So we click on Spa Services, and then it loads up our images and text here. So this is the photos layout. Spa address. It's going to show the Oasis Spa address, and of course I tacked on the contact information there, and right here in the title, and then you have your address and phone number. And if we click on the full website, then it will load up the Oasis Spa website. It was actually pretty cool. So how responsive it is that it can show up in this tablet application. But let's see, so that will wrap up this one. So let's close that out and switch over to our other project. So this is the Modern Art Museums. This one gave me a mini heart attack and a good bit of trouble trying to get done. Just because it was different, but there was actually just a minor typo, really. See in the book, it doesn't give the HTTPS part of the address, so it just says www. But if you don't have that HTTPS part tacked onto it, as I've got here somewhere, then it won't even give an error or load it or do anything. It just you just click on the button and it does nothing. So I was a little worried I wasn't going to be able to get this out the door, but finally noticed that and got it ready to go. Not a whole lot of stuff in this one. There was no text or images, so there's nothing in strings.xml other than the application name, which I better make sure that I have changed. Yeah, I need to tack that on there in case it was like loaded in a phone or something like that. Cool. Alright, yeah, so the manifest looks pretty much the same. Actually, I think it's identical. You have the list as far as things I changed. So there you request permission to, I requested permission there to use the internet on the user's device. And then right here, I also have to allow clear text traffic. This is an item detail layout. This is the only layout really that I need to use because it just contains a web view. So I changed that from text view to web view. Now for the dummy content, I changed this up a little bit differently, cut out some unnecessary functions, and I actually cut out the unnecessary 2-argument constructor that's provided by default, since I don't even use dummy items like that, since they're all just for websites. So I went ahead and used that. You have 4 class variables here: ID, content, item name, and item URL. In the dummy item constructor, excuse me, the dummy item constructor accepts a ID, item name, and a item URL. So, and then it will set these class variables. Yeah, I guess so. Yep, is class. It will set these class variables here equal to that. Alright. I'm just thinking I've got everything. But yeah, but definitely I had to tack this on here because I actually visited the web pages. It showed me that, and took me a while to realize the difference between this one and the other one, and why the other app would work but this one wasn't. So it's kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. Alright, that has got that file. So then we'll check out this one. Wasn't much changed here, really the same place. I had to add in 3 cases. Could have probably even... In fact, I might try that out. Yeah, so I just thought of a nice way to simplify that. Let's go ahead and delete this commented code here. So since they're all the same there, I can just check to see if it's not equal to null, because it doesn't matter, they're all loaded the same way. Thought of doing that earlier, then ran into all this trouble with the actual addresses and forgot about it. So this is much more optimized than the other ones. So 1 if statement instead of 3. So basically, as long as the dummy item's ID is not equal to null, it'll load it up here. It will load up the URL associated with it. So that's pretty much it. There was nothing in strings.xml other than the names. We already looked at that. Yep, so let's go ahead and run it so we can get this in before I run out of time here. Screencast-O-Matic. Here we go. So here are our 3 websites. There we go. So here's the Barnes website. They weren't as responsive, I think, as they could have been in here, but that, of course, is on a fault of the website there. It has like this giant orange section. Maybe they even intended that. There's that one. Then we're going to load up the Tate Museum website. So we can see here's their website. And then go to the Van Gogh Museum here as well. And this one was really unresponsive, but that definitely did load it in. Alright, and that concludes our Chapter 9 projects.